Hi, thanks for joining me. My name is Marv Curtis. I'm a trauma coach and I specialize in narcissistic abuse recovery. When you signed up for the webinar, there were 5 questions that I said we'd go over. And the first one is, why do I still miss him or her, even after everything they did to me? There's 3 main things going on here. The first is you probably were conditioned to accept chaos or even find it familiar and therefore safe, even though it probably wasn't safe. Imagine a small child in a home where it's unsafe. Maybe there's neglect or possibly even abuse. You can't run away, you can't hide, you can't fight back. And so your body teaches you to attach yourself more closely to the person that's hurting you or making you feel unsafe. That's the way to basically become a people pleaser and to try and fix things. And by doing that, hoping that if you're nice enough, good enough, if you love them enough, they'll be nicer to you. And later on in life, that pattern persists when you get in the same situation because it feels familiar. You stay in it. When you help somebody, it gives you a great deal of satisfaction. For people who are in the people pleasing mode and absorb other people's emotions, it feels really good to fix those things. That creates what we call the love addiction. It's a conditioned response to the high when they love you and the good feeling of when you're able to help them. In the beginning, when the love bombing was going on, they probably seemed like the perfect match. They did, you said everything you needed to hear and see in order to say, this is perfect. How can it be this good? But then, of course, that's just the false front. That's fake. And even though their mask comes off and they become the person who is taking advantage of you, you still go back and think, yeah, but maybe if I'm nice enough, if I'm good enough, they'll go back to being that first person that I fell in love with. So how do I stop obsessing over what went wrong? Well, there are some main points, some of which are cognitive. You just have to know that this is a safety loop. You keep obsessing and going back over and over again, looking for safety. A lot of the time, you're blaming yourself and you're thinking, what did I do wrong? What could I do better? Trauma occurs not just in your mind. It's not just a memory. It's something that you feel in your body. It's kind of like muscle memory for emotions. And connecting your head brain and your heart brain together so that they can recognize what's going wrong is the first step. It's kind of the name it to tame it step. And then when you feel the pain of separation or the pain of being mistreated, acknowledging it and accepting it, one of the things that happens is we make excuses for it. We sometimes blaming ourselves. Sometimes it's circumstantial. Acknowledging that this hurts and this other person is hurting me is a really important step. It's important not to ask, why is this happening, as much as it is, what is happening, and acknowledging straight up, this is what's happening, and not making excuses. Accepting that what happened to you is not right, it's wrong, and that it isn't likely to change because narcissists very rarely change, helps the intensity go down. So the next one is, what if I'm the narcissist? Real narcissists will never ask this question because they never think they're wrong. They never think they've done anything bad. And so to think that they're hurting someone or acting selfishly just is unthinkable to them. So they never ask that question. A narcissist doesn't really question themselves because their entire sense of self is built around avoiding shame and vulnerability at all costs. Instead of self-reflection, narcissists protect themselves with defensiveness, blame shifting, and image control. They're going to blame you. And they're good at lying and deceiving and gaslighting. After enough of that, you may begin to think, maybe I am the narcissist, but it's not true. You're asking the question, you're not the narcissist. People often ask, how long does it take to break a trauma bond? If you're still in the relationship, know that oftentimes it takes 7 to 10 breakups before it finally becomes powerful enough to actually want to leave. And so if you're in the process of leaving and coming back, or they are breaking up and coming back, mostly on the narcissist's part, it's just a manner of manipulating you. But it can take multiple times before you finally get the message and say, oh yeah, this is crazy. I got to get out of this. After you've left the relationship, it can take a long time to get over the intensity of the obsession and the rumination, especially if you're trying to do this by yourself. So because trauma occurs both cognitively in your head and emotionally in your body or in your heart, we can work through the part that logically says, this doesn't make sense. I've got to get out. It's much more difficult to work on the part that's inside. For that, usually it takes an outsider to help you resolve that emotional attachment that you've got. So if you're trying to do this by yourself, it can take 6 to 24 months. And for some people, it takes much longer. With professional help, 30 to 90 days, you can usually get through it. Can I fix this on my own? The biggest problem is the false hope of thinking that your narcissist may change. You've probably got shared memories and experiences together. That person probably was very compelling in the beginning. They're usually very bright, very charismatic, and you fall in love with that part of them. Unfortunately, that's not really who they are. Once the mask comes off, you continue to believe, maybe if I'm just good enough, if I loved them enough, they'll go back to being that person I fell in love with. That is a mistake your brain is making. That's part of what we call the trauma bond. It's not actually love. And no matter how much you understand the logical part of this, the underlying emotional attachment that you feel is difficult to resolve on your own. So how do you get through this? I use a process which I call a trauma bond detox. This is a coaching process that helps you connect the logical and the emotional parts to resolve the attachment that you have, the emotional connection that you have to this person, so that you can recover more quickly. So in the same email that you received, there's a link to schedule a 20-minute call. We call it a clarity call. And that gives you a chance to speak with me, share your personal story, what's happened to you, and then talk about whether or not having a detox is the right approach for you. I'll give you a little demonstration at the time and show you the process of how we release that emotional attachment and get you back on your feet, stop those obsessive thoughts. So I hope you'll join me. Please click that button. Let's schedule a time. I'd love to visit with you and hear your story and see if we can't get you on the road to recovery a little bit more. Thank you.